Momentum is the fuel that's going to get you wherever you want to go. You roll a boulder up a hill, and up a hill, you push, and at the top, at some point, that boulder starts to roll on its own. Here's an interesting quote. I was listening to Jay-Z and Warren Buffett being interviewed by Forbes magazine. And Warren Buffett, the wealthiest man in the world at that time, was asked, "What's the secret? He said, "Well, I have this rule. The first rule is don't lose. And the second rule is never forget the first rule." It really isn't so much having a lot of brilliant decisions. It's just not having any terrible ones. And frankly, I did learn from my mentor, Benjamin Graham, how to avoid ever having any big disasters in investment. It wasn't that you were ever going to come up with the very smartest thing. But if you never have any significant losses, some single hits and double hits will produce a lot of home runs before you get through. Now, I'm approached all the time. People want me to invest in their ideas, and people say things like, "I got the next $1 billion idea. I got $1 million idea. Invest in this." And before I even hear their idea, the first thought that pops into my mind is, because in general these are newbies, people who have never had a business before or made much money, I wonder, have they ever made a company that makes $50,000, $100,000, $300,000? Why are they starting out trying to make $1 billion? That goes against all rules of logic. Now, every once in a while, somebody's been able to be a nobody, and then the next day they're a billionaire, but that's so rare that for you to bet your life on that strategy would be foolish. For me to bet my life on that strategy would be foolish. If you ever watch a chess game, two players, one can have not as good of pieces, not even as good position, but if they have the momentum and they're one step ahead, they win. And in your life, what you have to do is create momentum. And you need to follow this rule. Never fail. So your first business, your first health step, if you're trying to get thin, if you're trying to make $1 million, if you're trying to become famous, an actor, a singer, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, the first goal is get a little success. Because not only will that give you confidence and momentum, but it starts to change the neural pathways in your brain where you start expecting success. I was listening to Tony Robbins today, and he was talking about how the reason most people never go for big things, it's not because they don't want them. I mean, who doesn't want $1 million? Or who doesn't want six-pack abs? Or who doesn't want to be a celebrity? I mean, almost everybody. Or who doesn't want to change the world? Be remembered. Write a book. All of us do. But not many of us actually accomplish it. Why? Well, Tony Robbins said, it's because action comes out of certainty. If you knew for a fact that you took a shovel and in your backyard you dug for a day or two, you'd find a chest of gold, and you knew it was certainty or almost certainty, you'd be out there digging 24/7. You would take a week, a month, a year. If I told you there's $1 million out there somewhere in your backyard with a shovel, I mean, would you, and you knew with certainty that that was true, would you ever stop digging? Probably not. You would dig until you found it if you had to dig up every square inch 10 feet down. So the difference between somebody who is willing to go out and dig and a person who sits in their house is the level of certainty. And that's the same way for you. As you're going toward your goal of high levels of success, if you don't have certainty, your brain is not wired to go after things effectively if you don't have certainty. So if you're trying to make $1 million and you have no certainty in your brain, I promise you, you're not going to do the steps you need. You're not going to persevere to make $1 million. You won't. Now, back to the momentum. I'm explaining why momentum is so critical. If you go out and say, I'm going to learn to make $1,000 a month extra, or $100 a month extra, and you accomplish that goal, and a month from now, you can honestly say, I may be making an extra $100 a month, or an extra $1,000 a month. Well, now you're starting to hardwire your brain that when I make a goal, I'm able to accomplish it, and your brain starts to trust you. Remember, your subconscious is what you need to rewire, because into our eyes in each minute, we see about 11 million bits of information come into our brain. But our conscious mind, that's per minute, 11 million. And our conscious mind can only process 50 a minute. So almost 11 million bits of information have to be processed by our subconscious. So you want your subconscious machine working well. You want it able to believe with certainty whatever your conscious mind says. So if you consciously say, I want to make $1 million, the only way you'll accomplish it is if you've re-hardwired your subconscious into believing it's possible. And that's what momentum does. So whatever you're trying to accomplish, just get on first base. Do not try to hit a home run every time you go. Be successful. You know, the old wise saying says, he who is faithful in a little will be given a lot. That's momentum. Be faithful in a little thing. Figure out how to make $50 a month. Figure out how to lose 5 pounds. Then once you have that momentum, you can move forward with certainty. And then you can start jumping. Then it doesn't take long. You don't have to do that for 20 years either. You know, one of my first businesses was a nightclub business. I was young and I was like, man, this would be so fun. I'm going to start these nightclubs and blah, blah, blah. So early into it, I realized the secret to having a lot of people show up so I could make a lot of money was every single event I threw that I promoted. If it was always amazing, so if it was always amazing, people would always show up. So what did I do? With that business, I was smart. I started out, I threw a little party at my house. That's how I got started. I had a little apartment, probably 1,200 square feet, 1,500 square feet, and I threw a party. It's my first little like promoting nightclub type party. And how many people came? Like 50 people. It wasn't that hard to get 50 people. I just invited my friends. They invited their friends. 50 people showed up at my house. I worked diligently. I called everyone I knew. I texted. I emailed. I mean, I made sure. And 50 people in that house, that was packed. It looked packed because I only had a little living room. People were like sitting on top. It was a UFC party. We were watching a fight. Guys and girls were there. Everyone was having fun. There was food. Boom. It was exciting. About a month later, I was like, man, I can't fit this many people in my house. So I was at this restaurant, and it was called, I can't even remember the name of my first little place. It was like the Green something. Verde it was called. That's right. It was a Brazilian restaurant, and it was teeny. I mean, it probably could hold 75 people to eat. So I asked the owner. His name was Giorgio. I said, Giorgio, can I use this club, this restaurant, and turn it into a nightclub at night? Just let me try one time. And he said, okay, what the hell? He was from Greece. He was a laid back, loved to party. So did the same thing. Got on the phone, emailed, texted everyone I knew. I'm doing a party at Verde. So this place only needed like 75 people. And I'd just gotten 50. And all those 50 people knew it was a good party at my house. So a month later, I do this party at Verde. So many people came to that. I mean, it held 75 and it probably had 150 people show up. That's when I learned the importance of bouncers. There was so many people. I was trying to charge people $10 at the door. And like people were just walking by us, just going in there. It was like packed. It was like pandemonium. So I was like, wow. You know, I did that a couple times. And every time I made sure I called everybody, just trying to hit a first base hit. I wasn't trying to become the biggest nightclub promoter in that state. But I eventually became that. The largest, I threw the biggest events in a whole state. So after Verde, I went to the owner. I was like, look, Giorgio, this place is too small. This place is way too small. I'm packing out. We got lines. So right next door, he had his big restaurant. This place is called Parazon. And I was like, let me do the parties here. And the same pattern. That place, though, could hold like 500. But you know what? When I called up my friends, I had a track record. I had momentum. Now, I also had certainty in my brain. I had started to rewire my brain. It was like my brain was saying, man, every time you say you're going to throw a party, everyone shows up. So when I talked to people, I had confidence. I had a tremendous amount of confidence. And when I called those people, I was like, I'm doing it at the big restaurant, at Parazod, Friday night. Boom, show up. Then all of a sudden, 500 people started showing up. 700 people started showing up. And it eventually got into the thousands. 1,000, 2,000. But for years and years, I never once threw a party that failed. Every one of them was big or bigger than the one before. And then I got the reputation that whenever this person does something, it's going to work. So success attracts success. People came out of the woodwork. Investors that want to do other businesses. I became, kind of the go-to guy. If you want something done, go to this guy. I just started by hitting first base hits. Then I went to second. By the end, I was hitting home runs. 2,000 people showing up, paying a lot of money. I was making a lot of money in my early mid-20s from that. I had enough money to do whatever I wanted. And that was just one business. I had another business. It was just a little part-time thing. So for you, I live in Hollywood, Beverly Hills, and it's like people come here from little towns and they're going to be the next big actor, the next big model. And their goal right away is to be starring in a Steven Spielberg play. I'm like, why? Why? Get a little role. Move your way up. Never fail. Rehardwire your brain to momentum into confidence. So I want to encourage you. It's the same with money. Most entrepreneurs make this mistake. And remember, Warren Buffett, what he said. He said, man, just hit a lot of first base hits. This is a man, just so you know, who made a company go from $1 million company to $150 billion company. The greatest investor of all time. The man who knows more about how to make yourself successful than anybody possibly to ever live. And what was his advice? Never fail. So that's a hard rule, to never fail. How do you do it? You just do a little bit. Lose 5 pounds. Lose 1 pound. Once your brain's certain that you can control your diet and exercise enough to lose 5 pounds, it'll help you lose 6. Once you learn how to make $1, it'll show you how to make 2. Momentum. Do not be greedy. There's a saying, pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. What does that mean? Just be a pig. Just eat a little bit. Just be a little bit greedy. I just want a first base hit. I just want to make $100. That's just a pig. And pigs get fat, meaning they get what they want. But hogs want too much, too fast. And the world slaughters them. If your goal is your first company is going to make you $10 million, you're being a hog. You're going to get slaughtered. If your first goal is going to make you an extra $1,000, $2,000 a month, now you're just being a pig. You're going to get fat and be happy.